video surfaced last week that showed what happened at a traffic stop between a state trooper and Sandra Bland. Bland was found dead from an apparent suicide in her holding cell a few days after the incident seen on the film. But if just a few things had been different in that video, she might still be alive. Joining me now to talk about this is Howard Nations. He's going to explain what you need to do at a traffic stop and what the police have a right to do. Howard, nothing good comes from Texas anymore. What in the world is happening to Texas besides the drought, besides Perry, Rick Perry, besides the fracking, besides besides the crime? I mean, what in the world is with Texas? I mean, this Bland case, it just really shines a light on kind of the good old boy police system down there.
Yeah, this is a bit beyond the pale, Mike, even by Texas standards. In this case, as you know, as everybody knows, a Department of Public Safety trooper stopped Sandra Bland for the simple failure to change lanes. He pulled up behind her, and she moved over to let him pass, and she didn't turn on her turn signal, so he pulled her over. After the investigation, he decided to give her a warning. And then after the investigation is over, the trooper asked her why she was upset. He requested that she put out a cigarette. She refused. He ordered her out of the car, told her she was under arrest, pulled a taser on her, threatening to light her up, ordered her to stop recording. When she hesitated to leave the car, she was refusing an exit order, which is a technical violation under Texas law, provided a basis for arrest. He removed her carefully from the camera's view. According to what she said, he smashed her head on the ground. A second officer pinned her down, and he ordered a bystander to leave the area, stop recording. She was arrested, jailed on a $5,000 bond, which is absurd, and she was found dead in her cell 3 days later.
Okay, well, let me go to the real questions. Okay, first of all, it's not like this woman was suicidal. I mean, we can get that out of the way. She was there. She has a new job she'd been waiting for. She was excited about it. She had parties that she was going there, days before. Everybody was celebrating. She has this new job. And all of a sudden, the Texas folks want us to believe that she just went to the cell and hung herself. And what's more likely than not is they considered her uppity because she actually had an opinion, because she actually said something that they disagreed with. So she's uppity all of a sudden. And the next thing that happens is she's hanging in a cell. This is not the first time we've heard this story in Texas, and that's what's so bothersome. It's not just Texas. It's almost like epidemic throughout the country. I don't know did you see that story, even before you answer that, did you see that story where in the UK, in the last 115 years, they have killed 52 people. In the United States, the police officers in the last 115 days have killed 370 people. Wow. This has become an incredible story that nobody's paying enough attention to.
Well, what's getting a lot of attention is the whole issue about what are your rights when you're stopped by a police officer, and people don't understand that. It's a complex situation. The law that controls this situation is the United States Constitution, the Fourth Amendment, the U.S. Supreme Court decision in Penn versus Mims, U.S. Supreme Court decision in Rodriguez versus U.S., the Texas law on resisting arrest, and just plain old ordinary common sense. With all that complexity, the officers have very much the upper hand. The rights of the DPS officer in a traffic violation, can they order you out of the car? Yes. In Penn versus Mims, a driver from out of state was driving with an expired tag. The Supreme Court said they have the power to conduct a pat-down search. Take him out of his car and conduct a pat-down search.
Okay, but let me ask you something. Most people don't even understand that they can order you out of the car.
Right.
Because, first of all, if you're a black man or individual living in this country right now, do you really want to get out of the car with Bubba police officer and subject yourself to what seems to be an inevitable beating? That's the first thing. Does a woman want to get out of the car at night with somebody identifying themselves as a police officer. Does anybody want to get out of their car when you step into traffic, buzzing by you at 70 miles an hour? Right. It's not unreasonable for somebody to say, I really don't want to get out of the car, but you're saying the law says they have to, correct?
Well, it does, and the reason for it is what happened last week. A police sergeant in Hayward, California was shot to death by a driver in a traffic stop. It's one of the most dangerous situations for the police officer as well. But let me tell you what we need to know about our rights. There's a vital point at which the law changes, where the MEMS powers that allow the officer to take you out of the car to do a pat-down search, they apply to the officer investigating the event. When the investigation of the traffic violation is completed, the driver can drive away at that point. The routine traffic stop is completed. Now, in this case, the traffic stop was completed when the police officer decided that he was going to give her a warning ticket. In the case of Rodriguez versus U.S., which just happened in April of 2015, Justice Ginsburg said, a police stop may last no longer than is necessary to effect that purpose. The authority for seizure, to order you out of your car, to arrest you, ends when the task tied to the traffic infraction is or reasonably should have been completed.
Okay, so let me get this, Howard. Once they hand that ticket through the window and say, ma'am, here's your warning, here's your ticket, the driver is free to drive away. But again, most people don't know that. And most people would not drive away until the officer gets back into his car. Isn't that kind of human nature?
Yep, exactly. And there's where the trap lies, because the police officers know this. So when the officer comes back to her and he says, you seem upset, what he's doing is he's baiting her and he's escalating. He requested, he didn't order, he requested that she put out her cigarette. She had the right to refuse that, but he ordered her out of the car, thereby extending the stop illegally. He had no right to order her out of the car at that point. Okay, because now he's under Rodriguez.
Let me stop you right there. Before that point, though, I mean, an officer has the right to say, take off your hat, take off your sunglasses, put down your phone, put out the cigarettes, turn the radio down. He has the right to do that until the point that the investigation's over. He's handed the ticket. At that point, that's over. But up to that point, just to be clear, the officer has a right to say, get off your phone, turn off the radio, take off that hat. I want to see who you are. Take off those sunglasses. Absolutely. He has a right to do all those things.
Absolutely. But you got to be aware that once they complete that right stops, and Rodriguez kicks in, which says that the stop may be extended only if they reasonably suspect an additional crime may have been committed or for the safety of the officer. In his report in this case, the DPS officer listed neither an additional crime nor officer safety at that point to justify extending this traffic stop.
Okay, first of all, we got about 30 seconds, but the Supreme Court has said that none of this is a violation of the Fourth Amendment. Get out of your car, pat down, take off your hat, none of that is a Fourth Amendment violation according to the Supreme Court, is it?
That's right. Here's where common sense comes in. If you get stopped, remain in the car, take out your driver's license, your registration, your insurance, keep both hands visible, be very polite to the police officer. When you get a ticket or a warning, ask permission to leave. Do not carry on any further conversation. Let your lawyer argue the Fourth Amendment and Mims and Rodriguez to a judge, because you got to remember that the judge, the district attorney, the cop are all on the same team.
Most time nowadays, you don't know that you're dealing with somebody that's got dealing with a full elevator. I mean, when you're dealing with these police officers nowadays. That's just the way it looks to me. Howard, I'm sorry you have to live in Texas. I'm glad I can report to Texas about Texas and don't have to be there. But thank you for joining me.
Let me say one thing in defense of Texas, Pap. The Texas State Law Enforcement, the Texas Rangers, Department of Public Service, which is what this trooper was, the Texas Game Wardens are the cream of the crop. They're highly respected in the state. It's very, very unusual conduct for a trooper. Now, we got 256 counties in this state, and the deputy sheriffs and local cops and small-town rednecks all over the state, that's a different story. and that's where you get that redneck justice.
I'm glad to hear that. Just hope that you're arrested by a Texas Ranger, I think is the best way to put it. Howard Nations, thank you. Thank goodness they got a lawyer like you out in Texas. Thank you for joining me, okay? Bye-bye.